Fantastic. All right, so Joe and Revolution team, I'm Dawn Sherman with Mortgage Coach. I lead our sales organization and our strategy, and it is really exciting to meet a new entrant into our industry. There are a lot of old time players here that we deal with day in, day out. So it's pretty exciting to see somebody that has, a vision to start a new company and go out there and make it happen. And we'd love to have the opportunity to partner with a company like yours. So am I safe to say that there might, I think I heard that there are a few Mortgage Coach users that might be with us today. Is that fair? All right, we got a handshake. JP, nice to meet you. Anyone else? Then JP, I am going to put you on the spot. If you could take your mic off mute and maybe just share your Mortgage Coach why with your teammates here, and what's Mortgage Coach done for you?
Oh, it's a game changer. I do at least a dozen, if I'm busy, 20 mortgage coaches a week. If you set up all the presets up front with all the closing costs and everything, and you do the templates, I can build a mortgage coach with 4 scenarios in 5 to 10 minutes. And just the display and graphics, I mean, it sells points is the funny thing. Like, I do a lot of locks with discount points because people see the time value over the long 5-year. I do the 5-year and 15-year outlook, which is pretty standard, I think. And so it really does sell, especially people that plan on being in the home long term. It really does sell discount points, but it gives people more options than most lenders. Most lenders are giving me 1 or 2, right? And I'm always giving them at least 4 scenarios. So
that's fantastic. And would you say that with Mortgage Coach, you have the ability to convert more borrowers faster?
Oh, definitely. I literally just won a deal today that I'm 97%. And he told me he was shopping, and I'm 97% sure I didn't have the best rates, but it was, I gave him the most options.
Oh, bingo. So that's the Mortgage Coach magic right there. Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. Since JP was so kind as to set me up for the perfect intro, let me get into my presentation here. So I'm going to confirm, Chris, can you see my screen? Chris, are you guys?
I can see it. Everybody else can.
All right, fantastic. Okay, so as JP said, he puts a ton, like every one of you, you put a lot of your life energy, your time, your resources, your, maybe sacrificing every now and then work-life balance to become that mortgage lender that after you've had that borrower consultation and had that hopes and dreams and goals, trying to get from the borrower what they're trying to accomplish with home ownership, that you become their preferred mortgage lender, right? And it sounds like in JP's case, that happens more often than not. But not only borrowers, that it also speaks to, since we're talking about a purchase market that we're facing going into 2022, realtors, or maybe it's CPAs or financial planners. But how do you win the hearts and trust of those individuals that will be a conduit for you to grow your purchase market business? Well, you know what? It's not easy, right? Because in our market today, especially as we hit October, we're talking about seasonality in our industry, right? And what happens with seasonality? Well, we have things like the Fed announcing that they're going to be tapering, and we have inflation reports come out, and we have job reports come out. And so what do our realtors and our borrowers hear every day? That interest rates are probably going to rise, right? Or even if they're going down, a borrower may say, well, you know what? I heard or I read that interest rates are going to go down more. So why should I do business with you today? Those conversations and our industry and online lenders set the stage for a whole heck of a lot of challenges that then trickle down to you. So what does that mean to you? It means that you might be complaining to, I think it was Tim, the president, I can't remember his name, that, you know what, our rates aren't competitive. You know what, and he may be coming back to you and say, well, you know what, your price exceptions are too high. And secondary marketing might be saying that, margins are just too thin. We need to increase interest rates. So the wheel turns and the wheel turns and the wheel turns. We believe that this might be one of the very reasons that all of that frustration happens. And it sounds like, based upon the conversation that we just had with JP, that this is how he changes the conversation. If you're leading with a loan estimate, or maybe a fee worksheet, or maybe an Excel spreadsheet that's near and dear to your heart, that's super easy to use, but you're just focusing on a single interest rate or a single monthly payment or closing costs, you now have set in the minds of the borrower or your realtor that you're just another commodity, right? You've got the same product as the guy down the street, as the guy down the street, as the guy down the street, which is an interest rate. But when you change the conversation from what you see here on the left-hand side, which is pretty much status quo, right? We've been doing something like this for 30, 40 years, throw an interest rate out there, and that's how you lead the conversation with the borrower. The Mortgage Coach experience is on the right-hand side of your screen, which illustrates what we just heard from JP about presenting options, but not just presenting the options, because there probably are multiple different products that will fit the goals and dreams and hopes that that borrower is trying to achieve with homeownership. But what do those mean? What do those options mean to the borrower over time? For those of you who are branch managers, I'd like to just throw out a couple of stats that hopefully will get your attention and make you sit up straighter in your chair and maybe carry this Mortgage Coach message further. First of all, when you have a team of originators that you are coaching and training and leading to use Mortgage Coach, you will improve your conversion and your pull-through by a minimum of 20% in the first 30 days. And we have plenty of case studies that speak to this. You'll also increase your production by 15 to 25% by slowing down rate shopping. You're probably never going to stop it, but you'll minimize rate shopping. And you'll do that again in the first 6 months. You'll also increase your referrals and past client new opportunities by 20 to 30% by implementing annual mortgage reviews or health checks or wealth checks with your borrowers. So when your LOs have an anniversary of a loan they closed a year ago, to actually create a Mortgage Coach total cost analysis, to pick up the phone and to do that wealth check with the family to say, how's that home working for you? How's that loan working for you? Oh, with the pandemic, you realized you need a bigger home. And then, oh, so you've uncovered a purchase transaction and now you take that purchase transaction to your favorite realtor. How much more golden is that than buying donuts or tchotchkes? And then finally, you'll protect your margin and profitability by a minimum of 10 to 20 basis points. Because if you do have an LO that comes to you for a price exception request, you'll find that they need less to get the deal done. And the percentage of loans with price exceptions will go down as well. All right, so a little deeper dive into Mortgage Coach, branding, right? So we hear about branding, reputation, not only for the loan originator, but also for Revolution Mortgage. Being a fairly new company, one of the best ways to elevate your entire brand in the market that you serve is when you have a team of loan originators who are known for having value-based conversations, and they share this conversation in the form of a digital link with family and friends. So you're now becoming known in the markets that you serve with delivering a different value experience. So I mentioned about options. You'll see the options over here in the left-hand side of the screen. We have an integration with experience.com to actually build Mortgage Coach or your reviews right into the Mortgage Coach experience to help your borrowers from having to go hunt and peck on Google or Yelp or whatever for reviews done by peers of your loan originators. You have something called alerts, which every time this presentation is open, your loan originators will get a message either in text, email, or in the Mortgage Coach advice engine that the borrower is engaged with the presentation. What does that mean to you guys? It means knock, 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 time to take action, get on the phone, engage the borrower to see if they have comments, questions, or if they have any changes. And then again, on the right-hand side, all this data that sits on the left, how do you really illustrate that to a borrower? Well, the easiest way to do that is in charts and graphs that very easily show the difference between, in this case, if I'm renting, how much money am I putting down the toilet every month, flushing down the toilet, versus how much am I actually paying for a monthly payment. And then as you drop down into the next level, it's if I continue to rent, how much would I be my tax benefit over a period of time, or what is the equity that I would be building versus continuing to rent. And then in the bottom area, what's the difference in interest paid versus rent that I'm paying in these different options. And then finally, a superpower is video. The ability to add your personal voice, your personal narration, to give education and true advice to that borrower instead of just throwing out an interest rate or a price. All right, another great thing about Mortgage Coach, anytime, anywhere, any device. So you as a loan originator, if you have a borrower who's at an open house on the weekend and they want to have a purchase price, they walked into their dream home and it's $25,000 more than what you originally shared with them when they came to you for a pre-approval. You can be on the golf course, you can be in the line at the grocery store, and you can immediately update your presentation, call out to Optimal Blue from your device, your phone, and pull real-time pricing from Optimal Blue right on your phone and share that presentation with your borrower in less than 5 minutes. And again, the borrower side, they can receive the presentation wherever they might be, or your realtor. But these are the 3 essentials of Mortgage Coach. Compare options, because consumer studies show that it doesn't matter what a consumer is willing or getting ready to buy, they want options. They may not want a whole bunch of options, but they want a few options, because once they have options, then they start owning the decision. And when that borrower is owning the decision, they will commit and convert faster. And then to look at cost over the short term and the long term, a VA that's stationed somewhere and will be stationed there for 3 years doesn't need to be looking at a 30-year mortgage. You guys know that, you're the experts, but how do you illustrate them? Because they are taught to think of a mortgage as a 30-year transaction. And then the last area is in how you can make a mortgage work for a borrower to help them understand ways that they can increase equity through either investing in or simply moving money into a savings account where they would be having interest-bearing capabilities to increase wealth, or even a debt reduction where they could use a refinance savings and take a look at how to consolidate consumer debt and pay off that debt. Or with our most recent integration, how do you help millennial home buyers or professionals like doctors or lawyers who have immense college student debt that drags down their DTI, with an analysis done by our partner LoanSense, working with Mortgage Coach to help pay off or reduce that student loan debt to drive up DTI in less than 21 days. Or I should say drive. Okay, so here's just a few of the things that you can do with Mortgage Coach. Any type of borrower that you talk to, you can most likely find a loan strategy for them, whether it's refinance or purchase, investment property, new construction, as I mentioned, debt consolidation, and anything that you see on the screen here. But not only that, so as a branch manager, you actually have, a focus to what you're doing on a monthly basis by looking at that pipeline of each one of your originators, right? So what does your overall branch pipeline look at? And that's where you're focused on what's going on in the transactions themselves, what's converting and how are you getting them through to close. But the other piece of Mortgage Coach is that you can help your loan originators build leads by combining your CRM and taking those beautiful marketing assets that your loan originators may be able to send out through your CRM and adding sample total cost analysis. For example, let's say you have your LOs and they want to partner with realtors going into spring home buying of 2022. How much more value would there be if you send out a beautiful flyer that shows a first-time home buyer getting ready to close on their loans and they're being handed keys, but to be able to add an actual rent versus own presentation to help them understand they really can afford home ownership and not have to put 20% down by showing them 5%, 3%, possibly MI options. So using Mortgage Coach as a lead generation tool to build the pipeline for long-term sustainability. And then I mentioned earlier, when the loan closes on the anniversary of every loan, to go out and do that annual mortgage review to help draw to continue to create clients for life, most importantly, but also to find the gold that's in your past client database of uncovering new purchase, new refinance, new investment property opportunities for you. Okay, I've just been on a whirlwind discussion about Mortgage Coach. I'm going to stop here and ask what questions you might have at this point in time. All right, I'm going to stop my share right at the moment. And let me get into something that you probably do every day, day in, day out, right? I understand that you have a product called Optimal Blue, your product and pricing engine. Is that a fair statement? Then I'm going to show you how you go to work every day with Optimal Blue and with Mortgage Coach. So at some point in time in your process, you're going to go out and you're going to pull product and pricing. You may do it in some other UI than this, but this is the Optimal Blue UI native to their organization. And I'm simply going to jump into my version or my instance of Optimal Blue. So I'm not going to go ahead and fill out all this information. I'm going to grab something from my pipeline here. And let me see, I'll just grab John Munson. And I have already filled out all of the information about John that is required to get a valid product and pricing pull from Optimal Blue. So I'm simply going to click submit. When the product and pricing engine returns, there's going to be one difference that you don't have today in your version of Optimal Blue. And that is the fact that Mortgage Coach sits right here within their UI. There's also a column that's been added to the UI called Mortgage Coach. So what does that mean to you? That means that now when you're selecting between 4 to 5 products, so let me just go, let's say I've done my homework and I know that they're going to be eligible for these products, or this is what I want to show. And let's say I even want to take a look at something that's below or above par, right? So maybe I want to look at a lender credit, or as JP was saying, discount points, right? So you can see here, I can easily select a product that has a discount point. And I'm going to then submit all of this to Mortgage Coach. Now, all of that data is getting ready to be sent. But I have one stop to make before I go ahead and click launch Mortgage Coach. Let's say you don't want your borrower to know what FHLMC is, or what is FNMA. We know, that's jargon, we know, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae. But I could actually just say, this is a 30-year option. This is a ARM option, but however you want to name that so that it's user-friendly for your borrower, instead of throwing a whole bunch of jargon at them, which just confuses them more because we have this industry that has a lot of jargon. But now I'm going to click submit or launch Mortgage Coach, and all of that product and pricing data is now being sent to Mortgage Coach, and the TCA, as we call it, the total cost analysis, has automatically been created. This is the beginning of your presentation. At this point in time, I can actually invoke, well, let's say I can either invoke adding video from my mobile device, or I can just simply do it on the web version here. Let me get my up here. So you can see here, hey, John and Susie, I just put this presentation together for you, and I just wanted to walk through very briefly things that you might want to look at as we review these different options. So you can see I have several different interest rates, because I just want to have you understand that an interest rate is not necessarily the best way to make a mortgage decision. So you simply stop that and you upload it and off you go, all right? So now every time the borrower opens this presentation, that video will be there, because we don't often understand this stuff the first time around, right? So that video will be there, still building trust whenever the borrower re-engages with the presentation. But what I'd like to do right now is now show you the experience of a borrower that your loan originator has shared a presentation with. This is what combines, this is what links, I should say, the borrower with a realtor, if you want to include the realtor in the transaction. But this link is what your LOs share, either texting, emailing. If you were doing a marketing presentation, you could actually share it out in social media. for lead generation campaigns. So I've copied this and I'm just going to drop this into our chat in Zoom. And if you'd like to follow along with me, if you just click that link, now you'll be able to experience Mortgage Coach through the eyes of your borrower. All right, let me get out of here. All right, so, okay, I know that four people have viewed this presentation. And you may ask me, well, how do I know that? I know that because of this views that's sitting up here in the right-hand corner. So just like your loan originator working with a borrower, and again, as I said, the presentation can be shared multiple times. So if your LO was working with first-time home buyers and you know that mom and dad are going to be providing gift funds, you can actually encourage them to share the presentations with mom and dad who may be 5 states away so that they understand the financial aspect of what they are getting ready to help their first-time home buyer accomplish with home ownership. Okay, so let me just clear off some things here. And for the sake of demonstration, as I shared within my video narration, now let's say that I'm having a phone call with the borrower or a Zoom meeting, and I really want to engage them with things that are important in the presentation. All right, so what I'd like to show you here is that this is an example of a 30-year loan where the interest rate is 2 3/4. But I also have a couple of other options for you. Here's one, an ARM with 3% option. Here's one at 3.375 and another one at 2.875 or 3/8, right? So now what's happening on your side? Hopefully the yellow highlighting is actually showing on your side. So that would be what your borrower is experiencing. But now I'd like for you to focus on the cash to close in each one of these different options. So you can see here, wow, the cash to close on this last product that I have here, this ARM product, is less. When I actually dive into that, let's really take a look at the breakdown of each one of those closing costs, of what makes up those closing costs, right? So you can see here, I can actually drive into the detail of the 3 different ways, another way to look at this breakdown. But more importantly, let's just say I don't really understand some of these things. So let's take a look at each line item of the fees that have been added to the presentation. So you can see here and have a very thorough conversation with your borrower about what makes up each one of these different closing costs. You also can look at the payment breakdown for each one of these different products. And then again, I mentioned the reinvestment strategy. And this is an example where, let's say I just wanted to do this line here, reduction payment. What if I just wanted to add another $100 a month? I would actually have built this into my presentation. I would be able to show how much more quickly I would be paying off this loan. So that's just an example of one of Mortgage Coach superpowers. And then over here, the same thing. You can illustrate these charts and graphs in a lot of different ways. You defined, do you want to look at savings over 60 months? Do you want to look at savings over 120 months? You define that to help the borrower understand, again, how to build wealth or how to reduce debt overall for this borrower with the decision that they're making for this transaction with home ownership. And then again, this final area is how much am I going to pay in interest between each one of these options, or in interest paid if I were looking at mortgage insurance. All right, I have talked a lot and I am going to stop talking for a moment and ask what other questions you have, and just open it up for general discussion.
I have a question. This is Femi. I'm asking, how are the closing costs and such items that you detailed by clicking on the presentation built in? Is that something that works with an API that pulls out of our LOS system, or is that something that gets built into the coach as a standard block so that it's usable across all the different scenarios?
All right, fantastic. So let me jump to the Mortgage Coach Advice Engine. This is actually where you work every day. And you can see here, John Munson was the loan that just came in from Optimal Blue. What we do is when we have an enterprise relationship with an organization, we come in here and work with you. We work with your admin team, and we actually help create these fee templates. So you can see here, whatever category of template you want to build, we will actually come in here and build out the template. Okay, so this is an example of my conventional fixed purchase. These are all of the lender fees that we would add and set up. We can actually build these templates down to the LO level. And we also then come in and we set up your product templates. So you can see here, any product templates that you have, we would set them up. So the first thing, the first way that the fees get added to the presentation is when I'm building a new client. Let's just go in and take a look at this client that I have here. When I get down to the product and pricing area, as you can see, these are the ones I had. So here's where I can add it. If I wanted to change the product, I would do that here. But then here's the get pricing button, where if I wanted to change the pricing, I could actually do that right from Mortgage Coach. What I showed you before was from Optimal Blue to Mortgage Coach. This is from Mortgage Coach to Optimal Blue. But then I come here and I just simply click closing cost detail. And now I pull in the template that I want to bring in, right? So all those templates that we set up, you'll just select the template, the state. And in addition to that, Chris, I don't know, does Revolution use a third-party fee provider like Closing Corp Smart Fees for things like
We
that?
use Smart Fees.
You do, okay. So this is the other great piece of automation. So you simply click here, you fill out any of the data that is required. Well, if it's already in the system, you don't have to worry about it. We click next. And now what's happening is there's a call that's being made out to Closing Corp. We're sending the data that they need to actually quote a fee. You can see here's my Smart Fees ID. And then I can say, okay. And I simply apply them to the loan. So now I have a more thorough view of both my lender fees and my third-party fees. And I could do that for each one of these products. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
All right. And then one more step. If I had MI on this transaction, we also have what you saw me do with Closing Corp. We also have that same functionality right now for 3 of the 6 MI companies. So we have MGIC, Arch MI, and National. So we just call out to those 3 MI providers and pull in the MI rate sheet as well, or rate quote. And then once you're done with this, when you get to the analysis part, this is where you set what I had mentioned before. Do I want to take a look at the analysis, my short term? Do I want it to be 60 months? Or do I want it to be some other thing? My long-term analysis, again, I set the way that I want to look at it. The benchmark, you can change the benchmark to either benchmark it off of a certain product, or you just want to go highest to lowest. If there's a product that you really think would be best. And then your short-term savings benchmark, the same thing. This is where adjust my reinvestment strategy. This is where if I wanted to show or illustrate $100 down extra, where I could do that. And then I simply, when I jump to the presentation itself, I can decide which products I want to show. I want to show the type of product. Here's your information, the customized content that you can be sent to the borrower. And then again, certain areas where you can customize. And then once we finally get towards the end, so you can see that I'm having a preview here of each one of these charts and graphs in case I wanted to go back and change that. So in this particular area, what if I just wanted to show this right now, it's defaulting to total interest and MI paid, but what if I wanted to show total net worth, or I wanted to show total principal paid? So I have those options. And then I can put a quote date. So we always want to make sure we have the most accurate date. Of course, I've got to go November, and today's my date. And then I can generate the link. And that's the link that then you either can add video or send to your borrower. And that's it. A couple of other things that we do in the advice engine. So you have the ability to also send partner presentations. Let's say, for example, you're supporting a realtor at an open house. In this particular case, we call it an open house flyer, but what it really is their strategic financing options. So you would work with the borrower or the realtor, I'm sorry, for that particular property, and you'd come up with, you put together the partner, right? You get her image in there, you've got yours already in there. Put a little bit of information about the property. Here's some different product options for this particular property. And then based upon the type of presentation that we're going to show this time, we're going to do our open house flyer. And this is an example of a digital open house flyer for strategic financing. So the beauty of this is that you're not replacing any of those beautiful glossy, NMLS pieces of paper. When the borrower or the prospect is in the open house and they're getting ready to leave, it is as simple as the realtor grabbing the email address or the phone number that the borrower prospect wrote down on that check-in sheet, and they can actually send this directly to the prospect as they're walking out the door. Or if you're co-hosting with the realtor, you can send that. Now you are being very, very sticky with the borrower as they move through their decision-making process. Other comments and questions? JP, is there anything that I missed that you find as a big superpower for you using Mortgage Coach?
No, embedding video sometimes works well too, kind of lets people get to know you if they haven't met you yet, and makes it a little more intimate, a little more closer. It gets an idea of your personality. That's about it.
Yeah, okay, fantastic, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Chris and Joe, back to you.
JP, you said that you do a TCA in about 3 to 5 minutes. Is that correct? Yeah. With that OB integration, I'm assuming that's going to shave even some more time off of that for you. Joe, do you have any questions on your end?
Nope. Anything that's needed to happen on our end, should we get to the next step here and roll this on the company side for our folks to take advantage of? Femi will be involved in, and some of Tony's group will be involved in, because they know more about that world than I do. And there'll definitely be some pieces on our end that are, probably going to have to get on their schedule and take some time, but we can work that out after we figure out where we're at on Friday. And we decide a pricing structure, we can roll to everybody and whatnot.
Right.
Okay. Well, like I said, I recorded this meeting, so if you want to forward it to anyone that couldn't be here, please do so. And yeah, we can just set it up for Friday. Will be next, and then we can go from there.
That sounds good.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you all
Joe.
for your time. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Chris.
Thank
All
you.
right. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.